Who initiated this Jama'at, and why? What are the circumstances?
The first question has to be reframed from Ahmadiyya viewpoint, because there was no man on earth who founded Ahmadiyya as such. Because Ahmadiyya, we believe, is founded by God, like Islam was founded, not by Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah, but by God. But Ahmadiyya is founded within Islam, not outside Islam. First of all, it is Allah who fulfilled His promise to Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is mentioned in the Holy Quran in Surah Al-Jumu'ah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم هو الذي بعث في الأميين رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياته ويزكيهم ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة وإن كانوا من قبل لفي ضلال مبين وآخرين منهم لما يلحقوا بهم وهو العزيز الحكيم. That means the second part of the promise was to be fulfilled at a time which was so far removed in years from the time of Hadhrat Muhammad Rasulullah that they should be referred to as Akharina minhum. So that is the promise where Ahmadiyyat comes into picture. The scholars, all old classical Muslim scholars, have been discussing these aspects. And they all agree to the point that at the time in the latter days, which are of course nowadays, God will send a reformer by the name of Al-Mahdi, Al-Imam Al-Mahdi. Another reformer is mentioned under the title Al-Messiah. We have been speaking of these two in earlier meetings. So I will not go into that question unless you require me to go once again into the matter. But remember this, Ahmadiyya, we believe, is exactly the fulfillment of the promise mentioned in the Holy Quran as a people who would be called Akhareen, but who somehow by Allah will be brought up in a manner that their quality of faith, their quality of dedication, their quality of righteousness will bring them in the same bracket as the people of the earlier days who supported Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah. And that also implies, according to me, that they will face the same hazards, requiring personal sacrifices, as were faced earlier by Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah and his followers. So this is in short my answer. Ahmadiyya, we believe, was founded by Allah on the same, with the same background as I have mentioned. But one last thing. Ordinarily people speak of founders not as God but as people whom God has chosen. So perhaps he wanted to find out, to get my answer from that angle. So I'll cover that angle too. When we say Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the founder of Islam, and others also refer to that, or Moses was founder of Judaism, I believe this is not the right expression. All religions are founded by God. They represent God, and through their agency, religions are founded. So within Islam, Ahmadiyya in that sense was founded by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. He was born in the Punjab, in a village, in a small township we should say, which was very close to village rather than to a big town, in 1835, year 1835, and he belonged to a family of Mughals, as they were called, but they in fact had come from Persia and had lived for many centuries in Persia. Originally they might have come from anywhere, I don't know, but we know that they had, when they came to India at the time of Babur, the founder, he was the founder of the Mughal dynasty in India. They came here, and because they were also called Mughals and they were great leaders in their area, so they were honored by the Mughal emperor, and they were gifted a property of 70 villages around, where they also exercised the right of magistracy and rule. So a small estate was given with the rights of states, you know, the subordinate state. That continued till the time of the Sikhs. When the Sikhs fought them during the anarchy period of the Punjab was in anarchy, and uprooted the family. And when they returned later on, when Ranjit Singh came to power, it was a very much small, reduced estate that they returned to with no state powers. This time it was 4 villages, including Qadian. Yes. One was Dhani, one was Dangal, and one other was a small village. Altogether 3 or 4 villages. This was the period when the British came and they established their rule, and Hadhrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadiani was born in 1835, while you know the British Raj had got established in India before that. So up to that I think it's sufficient. If you require anything else to know about him and how he did it, how was he appointed by God, if, as I say, he was appointed by God, then I'll answer that part of the question after this translation.
Yes, sir.
No, but they were not Mughals according to Muslim Islam.
No.
It was a title beg, which was common with the Mughals as well.
They are not really...
They are not really those Mughals who came to conquer India. They came with Babur. They came separately from Iran, because long ago, for hundreds of years, they had come from somewhere, but they settled in Iran and had become Iranians.
The Mughal gave
Persians.
from the east,
yes.
And the grandfathers of Hudur came from the west, from Persia.
From Persia.
And settled in
Yes,
Punjab
yes, from Persia.
during this...
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, you may ask me, if you like, the question as to why, on what authority do I say that when the Holy Quran promised Akharina minhum, the purpose was to raise their moral standard and religious and spiritual standard to a degree that they should be counted among the earlier people who were brought up by Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So I made this claim. This is a very tall claim. People may not agree with me. So if you like to ask me this question, I will answer.
Of course.
Because the Holy Quran has already spoken in detail about a people who would come later, much later, and who would appear in the Akhirah, not after death, but here on earth. And among them will be people who will be so high in the sight of Allah, in their status with God, that they are called Sullatum min al-awwaleen wa Sullatum min al-akhirin. A Jamaat among them would be Sulla. And then in the other place the Holy Quran says Sullatum min al-awwaleen wa qalilum min al-akhirin. That they will not be exactly equal. Because when the first time Hazrat Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam comes himself, his standard of bringing up the people is bound to be unique. Nobody could match, even if somebody comes in his imitation. So it's a beautiful verse of the Quran which differentiates between his first Besa and the second Besa. When he appeared first time, the quality of people in 3 different sections was huge. Large number of people. The quality was high and the number was huge. Were counted as Sullatun min al-awwalin, Sullatun min al-awwalin, never Qalilun min al-awwalin. But when it would happen again, although the Holy Quran says Akhrina minhum, as if he is coming again, but this what I am referring to, these verses show definitely that it would not be he in person. Somebody in his image, somebody following him, will make his best efforts. But of course they cannot be matched with the first. So he will fulfill the prophecy, but to a degree that a few would definitely reach that standard, which was the standard of the earlier people. But a large number would benefit, but not to that degree of standard. You understand?
Yeah.
So Sullatan is the lowest, not very low, but very high standard, but not exactly the standard of the earlier time. In that, talking of that standard of spirituality and righteousness, the Holy Quran says, Sullatun min al-awwalin wa Sullatun min al-akhirin. Large number here, large number there. But those who are forward, who are the first in ranks, there the Holy Quran says, Sullatun min al-awwalin wa Qalilun min al-akhirin. Qalilun min al-akhirin. So you understand this? This message is a very beautiful message.
Yes, Hadhrat.
But with the second general status you have mentioned?
No.
As far as the raising of standard to a high degree, but not the very first top. As far as that is concerned, the Holy Quran also speaks with approval and love of those people. He said there will be a very large Jamaat like the first large Jamaat who will reach a high standard but not exactly that high.
As far as
Sullatun. Here it is repeated, the Holy Quran says, that middle standard will be attained by the people of the latter days also in large number. Sullatun min al-awwalin wa Sullatun min al-akhirin.
I remember that they are mentioned as Ashabul Yamin.
That's right.
Sullatun min al-awwalin wa Sullatun min al-akhirin.
Another interesting angle of looking at this is from the historical point of view. The number of the companions of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah who remained with him in Medina and first in Mecca and Medina was larger, definitely larger than the number of the companions of Hazrat Masih who lived in Qadian around him. So I'm not talking of the rest.
Yes.
Those who came over and settled there and who directly benefited from Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah.
Whom you can mention Ashabu.
Ashab, yes. No. They were larger at the time of Hazrat Muhammad Rasulullah than at the time of Al-Mahdi. But those who benefited all over the world, they were great Sunnah, of course. But they came later on. Here, Awwaleen and Akhirin are mentioned. The two parties in Islam. It says, Qul innal awwaleen wal akhirin. Remember, there are going to be two parties in Islam, Awwaleen and Akhirin. La majmu'una ila miqat yawmin ma'lum. They will be brought together at the appointed time which is known to Allah and those whom He has Himself told. In what way they will be brought together? In two ways. Number one, وَآخَرِينَ مِنْهُمْ لَمَّا يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ. Number two, after death, they will be brought together and then they will be rewarded for whatever they did. The middle period is not mentioned. Islam has a very large middle period. So these are two special times. Remember this. ثُمَّ إِنَّكُمْ أَيُّهَا الضَّالُّونَ الْمُكَذِّبُونَ لَآكِلُونَ مِنْ شَجَرٍ مِنْ زَقُومٍ. Then you who reject and deny the first and the second appearance, both are not. You will be punished. Remember this. Don't make a hasty decision, in rejecting. فَمَالِيُونَ مِنْهُ الْبُطُونَ فَشَارِبُونَ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ الْحَمِيمِ فَشَارِبُونَ شُرْبَ الْهِيمِ هَذَا نُزُلُهُمْ يَوْمَ الدِّينِ. That will be their mehmani, as with not hospitality, not hospitality. This will be what they will be offered as hospitality on the day of judgment. Then, speaking of other things, where is the first part? Sullatum al-Awwaleen.
In the beginning.
In the beginning. Achha, I thought this was written like Arabic text.
Yes.
So that is why, I started from the end, in fact. It should be read from here. The Naumai Jannah, the great things bestowed on people of Jannah, on the people of Jannah, or shall we say, those who are fortunate to be admitted to Jannah, they are mentioned previously. This will be for this will be that from them. Then the Holy Quran says, Le ashabil yameen. These will be, these special benefit, the bounties of Jannah would be for the people of the right. Sullatu min al-awwaleen wa sullatu min al-akhirin. These people of the right will be equally in large number from the first group and the second group. You understand this point? Al-Yameen is a very good compliment to them, of a high order, but not as good as Muqarrabun or Waloon. That's still a higher group. So the Holy Quran begins the mention of these promises with the middle group, which is called Ashabul Yameen. Ashabul Shimal ma Ashabul Shimal fi samumin wa hamim wa zillin fi yamumin. We are not concerned with them. La baridin wa la kareem innahum kanu qabla dhalika mutrafin wa kanu yusirruna ala al-hinsi al-azim wa kanu yaquluna idha mitna wa kunna turaban wa idhaman ayna lamabuthun. In answer to this, the Holy Quran says, okay, we have not yet finished with the right people. قُلْ إِنَّ الْأَوَّلِينَ وَالْآخِرِينَ لَمَجْمُونَ إِلَى مِيقَاتِ يَوْمٍ مَعْلُومٍ. Then this will happen. I have already read it. So this is how I should have read it. And here it is mentioned that Islam will have two groups, fortunate groups or parties, one belonging to the first period, one to the second.